Good morning, everyone. My name is Tess Harris, and I am opening the Staff Hearing Officer meeting for July 9th, 2025. There have been no requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or addition of agenda items. And then there are no announcements or appeals for today's meeting. I'll open up public comment for items that are not on the agenda today. So anyone in the room? I don't see anybody here. Anyone, Ms. Gu, on Zoom?
I'm checking Zoom. I do not see any raised hands or attendees for this particular project. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so we will move on to item number 2, 726 Surfview Road. All right. So I'll read the full project description into the record. All right. So 726 Surfview Road, the 15,567 square foot site located at the corner of Surfview Drive and Island View Drive is currently developed with 1,412 square foot one-story residence and a 424 square foot garage. The project consists of the demolition of the existing garage and the construction of a 749 square foot garage, which is a net increase of 325 square feet, with a 749 square foot accessory dwelling unit above the new garage. The proposed total of 2,910 square feet is 67% of the maximum guideline FAR. The discretionary applications under the jurisdiction of the staff hearing officer at this hearing are the front setback modification along Surfview Drive to allow the reconstructed garage and a second-story accessory dwelling unit to encroach into the 30-foot front setback. Another front setback modification along Island View Drive to allow access stairs and a second-floor entry deck for the ADU to encroach in the 30-foot front setback. And a garage size modification to allow a garage in excess of the allowed 500 square feet. And staff has determined that the project qualifies for an exemption from further environmental review under California CEQA guidelines 15303 and 15305. So now I'll turn it over to Ms. Broadison to give us a staff presentation and take us through the project.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Harris, for the introduction. I do have a PowerPoint that is available if Ms. Gu could put that up on the screen. So the project site is located on at 726 Surfview. So it's kind of on the western side of town, and if you go up the main thoroughfare of Carrillo to Miggs, you just turn right on what's the street Island View, and it's right on the corner of Island View and Surfview in a little cul-de-sac, and you can see the aerial photo here. Then here's a front view of the front of the house and the existing garage, which will be rebuilt with a second story above. You can see the project site is on a corner lot and has two 30-foot front setbacks. So here's the existing site plan, and you can see the existing house encroaches into the front setback on Island View. And here, this corner here, you can see that the existing garage encroaches into the front setback on Surfview. The property is already non-conforming to both front setbacks. So the applicants are requesting a modification to rebuild the garage within the same footprint, and this again shows the garage. It will be built in the same footprint, the amount that encroaches. However, because it's going to be now a two-story structure, that qualifies as a substantial redevelopment, which triggers the need for a zoning modification. So as I said, 30-foot setback along Surfview. They're rebuilding it as a two-story, and the Single-Family Design Board reviewed the proposal and provided overall comments and said the scale and size of the project is appropriate. And they did request the applicant study ways to reduce the visual bulk. And they were supportive of the encroachment from an aesthetic viewpoint because of the large side of the property and the constraints of having two front setbacks. And also due to the topography, there's limited alternate locations for the ADU. So the staff is in support of the front setback mod on Surfview due to the constraints of 2 setbacks and due to the shape of the lot, and only about 69 square feet of the northwest corner, this one little triangle, will encroach into the front setback. It will encroach no more than the existing structure that's already there, and it allows for an appropriate improvement on the lot. And the ADU, allowing the ADU, would allow for an additional housing unit in the city's housing stock. Here, so regarding the island view encroachments, you can see here the island view encroachments is the stairs that lead to the second-story ADU, and then there's this landing and deck, and this small portion here is what actually encroaches into the secondary front setback on island view. Again, it's a 30-foot setback, although it's a secondary front setback, it still requires a 30-foot setback from the front of the street. Again, the SFDB reviewed the project and was supportive of this encroachment, stating that they were modest and appropriate. The encroachment of the stairs is about 15 square feet, and the second floor entry deck is only 13 square feet, so that'll be a minimal amount and will not block or disrupt views, sunlight, or airflow to adjacent neighbors as it's facing the street. Due to the shape of the lot, only a small portion of the deck would encroach into the setback, so staff supports this front setback modification because the encroachment is necessary to secure an appropriate improvement on the lot, and there's limited alternate locations to locate an ADU. I do want to correct the staff report. In the chart on page 3, I said that for the front yard on Island View that there is no change, and that is incorrect. The setback will be reduced from 30 feet to about, I can't read that on this one. There should be, can you see on here? So the setback will be, it'll encroach about 5 feet into the front setback. So it'll be about a 25-foot front setback after the structure is built. So that is an error in the staff report. And I wanted to correct that for the record. Now, regarding the garage, you can see here the proposed site plan again. Per Santa Barbara Municipal Code 30.165.060, non-conforming garages may be constructed provided the floor area is no larger than 250 square feet per parking space, or a total of 500 square feet. So this applicant is requesting to build a 749 square foot garage, which is over the maximum allowed by 249 square feet. The SFDB did have some concerns on this. The applicant originally proposed a 424 square foot garage with an ADU above, but because the ADU is larger than the ground floor, this resulted in the ADU being supported by posts and cantilevering over a large patio. The design review board found that the structure did not appear to be structurally supported and thus a less desirable aesthetic option to pursue. So the applicant had the option to either reduce the size of the ADU or increase the size of the lower level. And so they chose to expand the lower level by converting the covered patio to an expanded garage with a laundry and storage. Although the increased garage now triggers a modification to exceed the allowable garage size of 500 square feet, that expansion did not increase the amount of encroachment any more than what was already proposed. It's just that the garage size is over 500 square feet. Staff is in support of the garage size modification because it is necessary to secure an appropriate improvement on the lot, which does not include the previous cantilever ADU design. And here you can see what was originally proposed. On the left-hand side is the garage, and then this covered deck, which the design review board kind of felt it looked a little spindly and didn't feel that it sufficiently supported the ADU above. And here's this is the north view, which you can see the stairs, and you can see the shading shows that it was all unenclosed here in the garage door. And then this is what they returned to the SFDB with the extra space enclosed, and it looks just more supported from an architectural standpoint. Again, this SFDB, like I said, suggested the applicant study reducing the visual bulk, which they did by enclosing the garage storage area and the covered patio. They wanted some grounding for the second story so the building appears properly supported. And they also requested the applicant study ridge lines to reduce the visual weight on the second story and using a hip roof on the north elevation. But overall, the board was supportive of the aesthetic impacts of the front setback mods, and the applicant was asked to study window openings and consider breaking up the solid walls at the east and north elevations to create visual interest. The applicant responded to the comments from the board by expanding the garage to match the footprint of the ADU above, eliminating the need for the support columns. They also lowered the plate height, which SFDP appreciated, at the north roof over the bedrooms to reduce the visual bulk toward the uphill neighbors, and altered the gable at the roof to match the minor gables on the main residence. Additional windows were also added, and visual interest was enhanced by breaking up the exterior walls with pop-outs. So the SFDB was satisfied with this redesign, and they forwarded the project to the staff hearing officer for review of these discretionary applications. As you stated, the staff did conduct a sequence analysis and found that the project would be exempt, and that the project does not have any potential to damage scenic highways or historic resources, and the project site is not identified as a hazardous waste site. So it qualifies for exemption under sections 15303, which allow for new construction or small conversion of existing structures, and 15305, which allows for minor alterations in land use limitations. So staff recommends that the staff hearing officer approve the 2 front setback modifications and the garage size modification, making the findings in the staff report. I have the applicant here to provide an additional presentation if each so chooses.
Great, thank you, Ms. Robinson.
And here's the plans, Mr. DeFicente, if you need to refer to those. You can turn your microphone on.
Good morning, Ms. Harris. Ed DeFicente, DMHA Architecture. Thank you, staff, for the thorough presentation. Probably just a couple more things to highlight. We've been at this for a while. We've designed this for our client numerous times, and we spent a lot of time with counter staff trying to make heads and tails of the ADU rules. And so when it became clear that because of the complexities and the non-conforming issues, really moving for the client to get what he wanted, to have modifications and go to SFDB, you have to really commit as an owner to kind of do that and not just design to the more standard ADU rules. But it was worth it to him. So it's been a long process, but ADU and staff have been very helpful. And we're really happy with where the project ended up and what we're presenting before you today for consideration. The additional refinements by the SFDB, we think it really helps the overall. It's a small project, but it's a neighborhood that's enhancing. It's a little bit older stock. And I did want to highlight on some. We have a slide that does have other ADUs and 2-story elements around the neighborhood. So we're certainly not the first to kind of go, but I thought this was good context too. I don't think it's set up really for it's a little bit of zooming. There we go. So you can see a number of structures around Island View, or homes around Island View, and Surf View on the loop that have successfully kind of added second-story elements over time. So even some under construction currently. So that gave us some confidence that this was a good way to go for a neighborhood context, and we weren't doing anything that was kind of out of the ordinary or would create trouble in the neighborhood. So we did, I think, had one letter of concern at the first SFDB, but certainly not for the second. And for this hearing, we haven't had any additional public commentary raising concerns. Let me see, any other highlights? Not really. Staff really covered it. The designs just have been refined a bit with SFDB's guidance. If anything, you got more windows than we originally designed, which the client likes. We think we have a better project because of the process. And I just want to provide a little more context with the neighborhood. I don't think I have much more to add. So staff's done a great job. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Whoops, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Gu. So I'll just restate it since my mic wasn't on. On 5A in the staff report, page 3, I had asked Ms. Brodesson to make a change to the building height under existing to indicate the current height of the single-family dwelling and garage, so that it's clear on what the change is from existing to proposed. And then she had also indicated that she would make the change to the front setback in the first part of that chart. So that's great. Let's see. My only other question for either of you, in the staff report, it had mentioned that the project was scheduled to return to SFDB on June 30th. And so just wanted to get clarification on if that was part of if that had happened. And I know you had gone through, Ms. Brodesson, what SFDB had discussed. So just wanted to confirm that.
Yes, Ms. Harris, the project did go on June 30th. However, the staff report was due to our admin staff before those minutes were finalized or ratified. So I summarized them in the staff report, and then I also have a copy of the draft minutes here for your review if you want to take a look at them.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so with that, I don't have any other questions. I will open it up for public comment. Ms. Gu, do we have any members of the public, or I'll first open it up in the room. Don't see any members of the public in the room for public comment. So Ms. Gu, I'll turn it over to you for Zoom public comment.
Okay, upon checking Zoom, I do not see any raised hands or attendees on this particular project. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And so now I'll just kind of talk through the findings and the decision. So this really seems like a pretty straightforward project. I know that that as the applicant, you guys have gone through extensive review and had time with our planning staff. So I really appreciate all the work that you've put into it and the different changes to get to this point. I know you'll go back to the Single Family Design Board, in order to make some potential additional changes from a design or aesthetic standpoint. But in terms of the modifications that you're requesting today from the staff hearing officer, they really are very straightforward. And I say that because really the change in the actual in the actual space for the modification isn't changing much at all. It's really that stairway that's being added so that there can be access to the ADU. The garage is going to be placed in the same location. There already was a modification there or a change in the setback there. So that's really not changing from what exists today. So I feel really comfortable with that. With the change in the garage size, that it sounds like that came from really an aesthetic standpoint and I can understand that, wanting to see instead of having a second story sort of cantilevered over a porch to really fill out that bottom portion. And so I think that's appropriate in this particular situation. So with that, I will go ahead and make the findings for the project. I agree with staff's recommendation to approve the project, and I will make the findings for environmental review. The project qualifies for an exemption under sections 15303 and 15305. And then the front setback modification is consistent with the purpose and the intent of the residential single unit zone. Both front setback modifications actually, so Island View Drive and Surfview Drive. Surfview Drive is an appropriate improvement on the lot, given that the existing structure is non-conforming to the 30-foot front setback and the amount of encroachment is 69 square feet. And then Island View Drive, really very similar. It allows the stairs and entry deck to the second story ADU to encroach into the 30-foot secondary front setback, and it's necessary for the improvement of the ADU. And then the garage size modification finding, really the larger garage is appropriate for the lot size and was approved by the SFDB and found to be more visually appealing. So I'll make that finding as well. And so with that, let's see, Ms. Gu, could you go back to the slides perfect. So with that, my decision can be appealed to the Planning Commission. And then any member of the Planning Commission could suspend my decision within the same 10-day calendar day timeframe should they see fit. And with that, I will adjourn the staff hearing officer meeting for July 9th. Thank you very much for coming. I really appreciate both of you being here.